Hey guys, it's Paula Nutting, your musculoskeletal specialist, coming to you from Australia in our September Ask Me Anything presentation, which I'm super excited about. I mean, I'm super excited about every single one of them because they're so much fun, and I get the opportunity to talk to these incredible people all around the globe about what they can offer us as therapists and how we can take what they're offering us and pass them out to our patients and our clients. Today we've got gorgeous Anne Williams, who's got so much information to offer us. But just before I talk about that, I want to give a quick shout out to Q Academy, who are specialists in education for Queensland and also the east coast of Australia. They run courses in diploma, in certificate, in myotherapy, and have got an upcoming advanced degree that's coming forward for accelerating people into practice in all facets of our industry in manual handling, so manual bodywork. So big plug out to Q Academy because they do a great service for people who are interested in becoming professionals in massage and myotherapy. Anyway, talk about them more later because they are the bomb. Right now, I would love to introduce and bring on Anne Williams. So Anne Williams she's from the States, and she's been involved in our industry for quite a few years, but I'll get Anne to give us more about her story when we get her online. So Anne, come on in when you can. Any moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had to click in. Here I am.
No, I didn't realize either. I just kind of sit here and expect that it's going to happen at the back end. But
yeah, it's supposed to be magic, right? I don't have to do anything. I just sit here and it all happens.
Yeah, exactly. So, me too. Well, at least we both know that. So I've had the pleasure of having Anne on before, not when it was the Ask Me Anythings as official like this, but I got her to come on board and talk to us when the pandemic first started, because as therapists, we're all freaking out. Can we treat? What skills can we offer? Because we're going, can we touch our patients? Can we not touch our clients? What do we do in our treatment room? What disinfectants work? Do we have to wave chicken wings and smudge sage, or what the heck is going on? But since then, I realized that Anne has got all these superpowers, and one of them is in essential oils, and that's why we got you back on, Anne. So tell us about you and tell us about how you got into essential oils.
Okay, well, I've been a massage therapist for 25 years, and I've been an aromatherapist for 26 years. So I really went to massage school in order to enhance my aromatherapy knowledge and skill. But I've also spent a lot of time in the education sector, working with schools, working with students, and I'm also passionate about instructional design. So I've done that whole trip that many of us do, which is student first, then a massage teacher, then working in a private practice, then more massage teaching, then teaching CE workshops. And then I was the director of education for a large massage school in Washington State. And then I worked for Associated Bodywork and Massage Professionals for 13 years as their director of education. And just about 3 years ago, I left that organization to start a digital publishing company with my husband, Eric Brown, who everybody remembers from the World Massage Conference, because we're real believers in how we can work with online education to improve some of the foundational learning that people do. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that you can use online learning for everything, but you can do a lot of great stuff with online learning, and it bridges a lot of gaps for learners. So all along that long journey, aromatherapy has been my core passion, and I don't always get to do as much aromatherapy as I like. So I really appreciate you bringing me on so I can talk about my favorite thing, essential oils.
Well, that's a very cool segue. And we are going to get into the essential oils bit, but I really want to talk about how I've seen a lot of online learning. And I'm with Massage and Myotherapy Australia. Plug out to those guys. yeah, they are like the peer body for massage primarily in Australia, and they link out. Like, we're all over the world with different stuff. What I do notice is that they've got you guys on board helping with designing some of our online learning, our online portals for ethics and education. And oh God, there's some boring as bat poo stuff out there. Like, it's just your stuff is really cool. I've noticed, like, there's flip charts and it's really interactive. Thank you on behalf of any student who's going to do any courses out there that are online. You've actually helped me with mine too, because I looked at some of your stuff and went, okay, I'm going to rejig some of my self-paced online to be a little bit less PDF reading.
Yeah.
And more interesting.
Yeah, I think, well, one of the things, like, if you know Eric Brown, and you do, like, he always is pushing the envelope when it comes to technology. And so we've got an amazing platform that we've invested a lot of money in. And it has all these bells and whistles that you're not used to seeing, and they're super fun. But we've also run into those challenges, which is it takes us twice as long to develop anything as we think, because the build on everything is so involved with, like you say, everything's interactive and engaged, but you have to set all that. It's all done by hand. So it's a pretty involved process, but it's also a lot of fun when it starts to come together. So we love it. And I hope people will check us out and get a sense for what is possible with online education.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Eric and I share the same birthday. We're both 24/7. So we both, because I always say 24/7, we're going 24/7.
Yeah.
I just wish I had this much of his tech savvy, because on the other side, I'm more of the different creativity of Eric's stuff. And I noticed he sent me some links to the essential oils that we can actually do some of the basic online learning for the essential oils on your
massagemastery.online. Massagemastery.online. Yeah.
Online. Yeah, so that's cool. But and I actually I will edit that out. No, we won't. I noticed in the journal, it was a couple of journals ago, it was the Easter journal for us, that you had an article on essential oils that I read through, and I actually was sitting with a group of friends who were camping for the weekend, and it was like, check this out. I didn't know that essential oils worked for, psychological effects. I didn't know that we could use it. Now, you're advocating bringing essential oils into the session, into the clinic room. Can you outline some of the effects that essential oils can have for psychological wellness for us and our patients?
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting because it's not that this is new when it comes to aromatherapy. And if you have ever practiced aromatherapy, I think you know instinctively that they are influencing you on some sort of a psychological level. But it was really in the 1970s when Candace Pert discovered the opiate receptor that we started to have this new understanding of the brain. And it wasn't until 2009 that the first real research on essential oils affecting neurotransmitters takes place. So it's pretty new research in some ways. Now, for a long time, we've had the kind of research that goes along with how people spend money. So, for example, in one research study, they had 100 different shampoos, and the one that was rated the very worst at the end of the first round of research, they gave to a French perfumer. He adjusted the scent, and then it came in first the next time around based on how it smelled. So people, based on its smell, were saying it makes my hair silkier and shinier. There's been a lot of research in that area about how aromas influence the way we spend money. But this research is much newer. And so you're going to hear me talk about the same essential oils over and over again. And people often ask, does this mean that all these other oils don't have these effects? And my guess is no, it doesn't mean that. What it means is they've only been testing this very select few oils. And so we can say definitively these have some of these effects, but others don't. I'm sorry, I kind of left your question behind, but I'll come back to it. So when we look now at that range of effects that are psychological in nature, inhaled essential oils can improve your cognitive processing ability. They can improve your ability to allocate your attention. They can improve just your ability to do effortful mental tasks. People with very ambient levels of neurostimulating essential oils in the room do better on tests, and they make fewer mistakes on written documents. They can also reduce the symptoms of anxiety, balance a number of important neurotransmitters. Many act as antidepressants. They can enhance your mood or shift your mood. And they definitely influence adenosine levels, which have to do with our sleeping and waking patterns. So they can bring sleeping and waking patterns into alignment over time. Some can help you get to sleep, and some can help you stay asleep.
Yeah, wow. So let's look at the sleeping.
I'm like, wow, Anne, slow down.
No, you're like me. People sit there and say, when you learn from me, it's like drinking from a fire hydrant.
Here it comes, coming at you.
What I love is, so if we talk about sleeping, are we talking about putting a diffuser? Hey, Lauren, good to see you. A diffuser in your bedroom that will just help throughout that. Because that's
one of the things that's kind of interesting is oftentimes essential oils are tested at ambient levels, which means below conscious detection. So one of the things that I do, because it's harder for us with electric diffusers or even with nebulizing diffusers, which are the more expensive ones, it's always hard to get just the right dosage. So I'll diffuse something that's sleep promoting about 15 minutes before I plan to go to bed. And then I'll let it just dissipate, and it's just right. Like a lot of people say, oh, everybody tells me lavender for insomnia, but that's not true.
Yeah.
We're going to have a real problem here, Paula, if you hate lavender. No,
because of like old smelly art.
They're using way too much lavender is the problem. They're just using way too much of it. And it's got to be very low level, ambient, very, very soft, or it will disrupt your waking. It will wake you up if you're using too much of it.
So, well, that makes sense to me because I've got it, and if it should be that you don't smell it hitting you in the head like your grandmother's soap.
Yeah,
it should just be quiet. So, what about the waking up? Does it by helping put people to get their circadian cycles or their rhythm, they go to sleep better? Does that mean they'll naturally wake up, or do you need a different oil for waking?
Well, there are a number of different ways of looking at that question. Certain essential oils like lavender is one, sweet marjoram is another, bergamot's another. They bring you sort of into balance over time. Lavender, sweet marjoram, valerian, vetiver, they are neurosedative. So they'll help you get to sleep as well. Now, you shouldn't have any problems waking up with essential oils. It's not like you're taking, they're not like drugs, and they don't act on your body like drugs. So it's not like taking a sleep aid. But you can also use neurostimulating essential oils to bring yourself back up in the morning. One of the things I love to do is I love to do a wake-up shower, and I use either eucalyptus, rosemary, or bay laurel. They're all high in a chemical component called 1,8-cineol. And 1,8-cineol is a really powerful neurostimulant. So you plug the drain, you put like 4 drops in the bottom of your shower, and you just let them steam up with the shower. You wake up, you just shower as normal, and you feel it clears out all your congestion, and you feel great.
Wow, that's cool. I never knew that. And I'm totally pumped with that because that's good.
Easy and simple.
Could you do it the reverse? Put 4 drops of lavender and marjoram bergamot in the bath if you had a nighttime shower? Because I'm more of a nighttime Probably people don't need to know that, but
You
nighttime's
absolutely
not
could.
bad.
Yeah, because most of the research is done through inhalation. And so it's just diffusing the oils in your workspace, putting them on your body and letting them evaporate off your skin. Like when we use them in massage as the lubricant or mixed into the lubricant, they're evaporating off of the client's skin the entire time. So you're always inhaling them. And so the inhaled effects are part of the deal. Even those oils that are really working physiologically on the body, you're always getting some of your effects from inhaling the oils.
Yeah, cool. I don't know if you're reading through the comments, but I have to ask this, and it's got to be because this is obviously valid. But Eileen's saying, since we've included having a budgie as an indoor pet, the little birds, the budgerigars, I have greatly missed using aromatherapy. Is aromatherapy contraindicated with birds?
With animals, it's quite interesting because they will have very strong reactions to them. I have done absolutely no work with aromatherapy in birds, so I am in no way prepared to answer a question about birds. But I used to raise boa constrictors long, long ago when I was a much younger person, and they loved, yeah, they probably will. They love the aroma of geranium. Like they loved the smell of geranium, Pelargonium graveolens. That was their botanical species, and they just loved it. So I would say you have to just tread carefully with your pets and see what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah, so sad, Eileen, but that's a really interesting point. I'd never thought of that. So Lauren says her horse loves a turmeric massage on her legs.
Mm-hmm.
Anti-inflammatory, I suppose.
Yeah, anti-inflammatory. That's fantastic. I love that.
That is really interesting. So this is he chews on the eucalyptus leaves and reeks of menthol.
Oh, interesting.
So always question its validity. This is the budgie. Always he chews on eucalyptus leaves and reeks of menthol.
So I don't see these comments. So if I need to answer something, you'll let me know.
If you click on the comment section, it doesn't matter. You should be able to find the comments, but it doesn't.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I see. Okay, got him.
It's kind of fun to go through that. Anyway, look, I want to kind of come back into some of these, talking about neurosedatives and with the amygdala, I can never pronounce it, soothers. How would you apply those in a session?
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is how rampant anxiety is in our world today. And we're just dealing with day-to-day stresses. We're all so connected. We all know what's going on in the world. So we're not just dealing even with our own town or our own city or our own country. We're really dealing with
warming.
Yeah, the stresses of the world.
The death of the queen. Like there's people it's a tragedy to lose someone like a head of state for a commonwealth.
Yeah.
They're
it's
very sad. And I'm not necessarily a monarch, but it's affected me that, you talk to anyone in any part of the world about the Queen, and there's only one Queen that they know you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's really has served, she has served so dutifully.
Yeah.
And I think like with such stoicism and with such strength and calm and goodwill, it's hard to see somebody like that pass in the world, but also not feel it. Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. But we were really talking about anxiety. Yeah. And one of the things that's really interesting is the research on the amygdala and how essential oils affect the amygdala. So as massage therapists, you all know this probably already, that the amygdala is kind of the brain's smoke detector, and it's on the lookout for smoke. It's looking everywhere for smoke, and smoke is anything that's scary. And whenever the amygdala detects something scary, like, oh my God, a snake eating one of those cute little birds we were talking about earlier, it floods your body with stress hormones and we go into the fight or flight response. And one of the things that we know now about anxiety is that the more scary stuff you're exposed to, like the evening news, the more hyper vigilant your amygdala becomes. You start to view more and more people, situations, and things as scary. So your amygdala becomes supercharged and it's just ready to be scared all the time. Well, a number of essential oils work as amygdala soothers. And what they do is when you inhale them, they take down the hypervigilance of an overactive amygdala. And there have only been a few essential oils that have been really tested very specifically for this. I'm sure that the more research that's done, the bigger this list will get. But right now, lavender, bergamot, bitter orange, melissa, damask rose, valerian, and vetiver will reliably take down the charge of an overactive amygdala, and as a result, they address anxiety. So these are great anti-anxiety essential oils. And there's some research that shows that the more you are exposed to these oils, the better and better you get, the less anxious you get. So people often say, well, I'll get a weekly massage with lavender and bergamot and bitter orange, and that will do the trick. But it's not that. You need to bring them into your life all the time. You really want them very present in your working and living space. So running a diffuser all the time, having those oils diffused in your air so that you're inhaling them, and you want them at ambient levels. Like, you don't need to be like, oh, there's the lavender, I totally smell it. It can be really, really, really soft, and you're still getting the positive effects. And in some cases, you'll get a better response if it's at very low levels, if it's not too strong.
Do you need to take all of them? Like, because I know that we used to talk about saying only put like three different types, like a top note, a mid note, and a base note in.
Yeah, you can, but you don't have to. So what I really like bergamot, as you hear me talk about bergamot as we go on, what you're going to find out is bergamot is the great neurotransmitter equalizer. It is balancing your brain chemistry. It balances your levels of dopamine, serotonin, and glutamate. So inhaling bergamot becomes a really important piece. So I often do a combination of bergamot, lavender, and I'll sometimes then balance that. I love black spruce, and I also love silver fir, Abies alba. And these two species are fortifying. They're really great for stress resilience. So and they haven't been tested, so they might very well be amygdala soothers too. So I'll do those three together because I like the aroma and because it feels good when I inhale them. But if I just did bergamot, if I just did lavender, I would also be getting positive effects. So yes, you can blend them in synergy, or you can use single oils or 2 oils or 3 oils.
I wonder if that's why some of us, like me, for example, I love, God, I've just lost the name. Not English breakfast, Earl Grey tea.
Yeah, it is bergamot. Bergamot has this incredible cultural history. I'm about to get a little off topic and talk about the spiritual effects of essential oils. Bergamot was really, it's an Italian. It's from the south of Italy. It's from southern Italy, and it's a fruit. And it was really not very widely known because it's only cultivated in this very small area. But then this Italian-born perfume maker moved to Cologne, Germany, and he imported tons of bergamot, and people went wild for it. They'd never, ever smelled it before. It stayed incredibly popular for around 100 years. People just using it in colognes, eating it in foods. It was everywhere throughout Europe. And I think about this now and I think it probably just felt good. to wear it. It felt good to drink Earl Grey tea and have that aroma of bergamot. I think they were probably responding to the fact that it just balances you. It just brings you into a state of equilibrium. I'm a huge bergamot connoisseur, and I go through 15 milliliters of it a week. So my bergamot budget, not as high as my car payment, but it's right up there.
Wow, that's incredible. And when you were talking about, you're rattling off some of the names of the different oils. So that damask rose, I just think is beautiful. Are we drawn to some of the oils that we may be lacking in our assisting us at that chemo level?
I honestly think it's a little bit the opposite. And it's like when I do my research on what I should really be smelling all the time, it's geranium, it's pelargonium graveolens, it's geranium essential oil. I can't tolerate the smell of it. I just can't stand it. So I won't use it. I don't use it in anything. I never blend it in anything. Like I'm very adverse to it. And I think often the things that we dislike are the things we really need to be working with and really need to be bringing into our lives in small amounts. And geranium on a spiritual level is about boundaries. It's about bending too much or bending too little. It's about being inflexible or too flexible and never really being able to find that middle ground where you can hold your boundaries, contain yourself at just the right level so that you feel satisfied and the people around you feel satisfied. And unfortunately, despite 58 years of working on myself, this is still true. So I'm always bending too much or bending too little. I can't find the right degree of bend.
Yeah. Is it funny? Because that, to me, I love the smell of that. I think my favorite's neroli.
Neroli, yeah. It's, orange flower blossom. It's a great sedative. It's a great neurosedative, and it's a euphoric, which all the euphorics have small amounts of psychedelic substances in them. So when you're inhaling them, you're getting very small amounts of psychedelics, not like peyote or mushrooms or anything like that, but just very tiny amounts that sort of expand you in some way, make you feel a sense of expansion. So neroli might give you that sense of expansion, and it really just takes down the central nervous system like that. It's like smell, your nervous system goes down a notch.
Yeah, beautiful. Like it is beautiful. So how can we use some of these oils in our massage sessions? Clearly, you're saying advocating that it's better to have it as a diffuser versus rubbing the oil in.
Not necessarily. I think both work great. But if you haven't done a lot of aromatherapy, before you start applying stuff liberally to people's bodies, you should go get some training, because some are definitely skin irritants. And you wouldn't want to irritate somebody's skin. But you can add, for every ounce of massage lubricant, whether that's an oil, a cream, or a lotion, you would add 12 to 24 drops of total essential oil. So if you had 3 different oils, you'd be breaking those up in different ways. But 12 to 24 drops per ounce of carrier. And if you're going to use a carrier, I do suggest using a natural oil. And I know we've kind of moved away from oil. Like when I learned massage, everybody used oil. And now everybody uses these weird gels that are full of lots of chemicals, or they use, lotions that have lots of mineral oil in them. So I just remind people as natural as possible, and no dye and no fragrance, because they don't interact well with essential oils. But 1 ounce, 12 to 24 drops. That's your basic formula.
And for the non-Americans in the group, we have to work out what an ounce is in. I'm like going, I actually don't know what. Maybe the girls in the back
can go on the internet and find it for us.
Find out what the equal is, so I can put this up here so that for the rest of us. we
Oh,
will,
I didn't even think
yeah.
about that. I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. Before we go on, I actually want to do a quick shout out to Q Academy, because they've actually got multitudes of different venues. So I'm Brisbane, and I taught in Brisbane, the venue there, for a number of years. But there's also Sunny Coast is up there, down the Gold Coast, and they're integrating all the way through. I'm just getting another comment. Eileen used magnesium oil and then cupped a client, and it caused a chemical reaction under the cup. Are there any essential oils that would cause a similar response? Thanks.
Yes. I don't know what magnesium oil would do, so I can't say that essential oils would do the same thing. But there are many essential oils that are skin irritants, and anything irritating for the skin, if it's applied with anything hot or with heat, it becomes more irritating. So, like clove bud oil, that would be horrible to use with cupping. There are many oils that you'd want to stay away from. I'm also not a cupper, so I'm not sure. I think it's best for me to not delve into realms where I don't belong, or where I haven't traveled.
And sometimes I'll put a heat, like they put fire in to do the cupping, but there are the more modern ones you suction. So,
yeah.
And you also have to be mindful of oil on your hands. Like if you're massaging 6 people or 8 people a day and you're rubbing, like you're absorbing too, aren't you?
You are, and you're inhaling it, because oftentimes, you're right over the top of that stroke, inhaling it. And that can be, I think that's good for you. I don't think that will hurt you, even if you do it all day long, which I have done in the past. But it will definitely can make you feel a little bit like you're on a roller coaster ride, depending on the essential oils you're using. I have had the experience of doing something really sedative, then something really stimulating, then something really sedative. And it just sort of,
makes you a little bit less boundaries than before.
Yeah.
We're going to jump over and do that clip for Q Academy right now, and then we'll come straight back.
Yeah.
My name is Jade Afu. I studied Cert 4 massage in 2014 and then went on to remedial in 2015. I was working in ASICs. I was retail, Lorna Jane. The real reason why I went and studied was my daughter was, she's been quite sick for about 7 years on and off. She's had a couple of chronic conditions. So I found it hard working in a job and having to leave because my children are sick, or I've got to go to hospital, or there's just so many things going on. For me, I needed another option. I've been set up for about 8 years now, working from home. Having a home business has been like such a blessing to my life. I don't think I could have done what I've done somewhere else just with my own circumstances. My life's very busy. I've got 3 kids. And this year has been a little bit different again because now I've got 3 kids playing sports every afternoon. So I do try, if I can, work in between school hours. I feel like you can make it work to your advantage. So you can either work as hard as you want and be stressed and all the things, or you can make it flexible.
And they are a great group, as I said before. I work for them. They do accelerated learning techniques, which is actually kind of like more into that fun side of learning. So the brain breaks every 20 minutes or so. The students are always engaged, which is very, very cool. I'm just coming back to that question, that comment that Eileen made about the magnesium oil. Eileen, I'm just wondering, how long did that stay? Like, did it come up pretty much as you'd been doing the work, and underneath the cup created some kind of reaction and then eased off? Because I think that we have to be mindful as practitioners that if we're going to be using any whether it's oils or, like, I've got a lubricant that's got eucalyptus and arnica or like whatever else, that we actually have to get them to sign something that says that this is what we're doing, and are you prepared to accept that we're going to be using these oils and that there might be a skin reaction, and that it may last for a short time or a long time. So I'd really like to know, Eileen, whether that lasted an hour, a day, a week, a month. She's in surgery having skin grafts. Like, what level? It took off the dermal layers and it looked like a burn. I bet you were mortified. Yeah. So just that makes me think on the ethics side, just we need to do little information. And really, magnesium oil shouldn't be too bad. It took weeks to heal because, how often we're always putting magnesium oil on people because of the.
This is new to me. This is not something that we do a lot of. I mean, I'm not sure I've ever done it in the US. So it's very interesting, but I agree with you on the ethics side. Like, we must have our clients informed consent to anything having to do with their care. And that would include, if we want to use essential oils, they have to agree to it.
Yeah. But magnesium is a mineral more than an essential oil. So we're not really.
It's not an essential oil. Yeah.
And we're looking at spraying that on to absorb into the muscle to assist with his muscle. No, okay. But disclaimers. What are the euphorics when it comes to essential oils?
What are they and how do they work? So there are a number of essential oils that have small amounts of psychedelic substances in them. And one of my favorites is nutmeg essential oil, which has a chemical in it called myristicin. And the name of nutmeg, the botanical, is Myristicin fragrans. That's its botanical name, which is an awesome name, you must admit. So it has a small amount of myristicin in it. And if you were to take large doses of it, and I guess we can say this because some stupid people somewhere have done this, it instantly spikes your blood pressure, but it gives people the sensation of flying, and they feel like they fly or float. And in some cases, people have remained high for like 5 days, but they're taking ginormous amounts of it, and they're probably could kill themselves if they were not careful. So we're using it in tiny, tiny amounts. Very, very small amounts of myristicin are absorbing into our bloodstream or being inhaled. And in those small amounts, they give us this sense of expansion. And I like to say that they put us in our bodies and in the universe at the same time. And I always feel like the euphorics pull you forward into the world. They pull you down your path, and they sort of expand you into your path. So they're really, really beautiful, and they all tend to smell good, and we tend to really like them. So let me see if I can rattle off a few of them. Neroli is one. Bergamot, blue lotus. Cardamom. Oh, beautiful. Elateria cardamomon. Absolutely spectacular. Lots of people don't use cardamom essential oil, and just get yourself some the next time you buy it and smell it, because there's no going back. And spiritually, cardamom represents abundance. So it's about abundance mindset and just believing that there is enough, we are enough, we have enough. So I love cardamom.
Cardamon's the same cardamom as in cardamom rice the Indians, cook with.
Yeah,
the
spice. It's the same spice, and it comes from southern India, and it's been traded for almost 5,000 years, all up and down the Red Sea coast. So it's got an incredible history.
And when you think about the profit and how they feel in India as a group, we have enough. It is enough. It kind of maps them culturally. Yeah,
it's beautiful. Yeah. Some others are cypress, grapefruit, jasmine, neroli, rosemary, clovebud, clary sage. More and more are coming to me. Yeah.
Clary sage, yes, we're always advised to be mindful of putting too much of that in there. Cloves. We used to do when the kids when our kids were babies, if they were teething, we'd get a clove and just rub it onto that gum.
Yeah, it's high in eugenol, which is a phenol that is analgesic. So it has long been used for toothache or for muscular aches and pains as well. Unfortunately, though, you have to be very careful with clove. I do use tiny bits of it for muscular system stuff, but it is a skin irritant and it will irritate people's skin. So you do have to be careful and just use a little bit of it. But a little bit still smells great.
Yeah, yummo, yummo.
So Paula, I'm curious from our earlier discussion, what's an essential oil that you don't like?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking before, because I'm not pumped on lavender, but I thought it was because of my negative mental experiences of going to see my great aunt and uncle, who their whole house, like we walked past the lavender bushes that were through up to the gates, and it just always reeked of too much of that. And I'm hypotensive anyway, so I don't need anything to drop my blood pressure any lower than it is. And I think that's why I was kind of moving away from it. But I love frankincense.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about frankincense then. Well, frankincense is a great antidepressant. It is also one of the euphorics, and it has over a 5,000-year-old history. So in the ancient world around the Red Sea region, what is now Iraq, Turkey, Iran, those areas that were once Mesopotamia and Egypt, frankincense was traded up and down that Red Sea region, and the Egyptians were absolutely desperate for it. They burned copious amounts, mountains of frankincense, and they burned it for their sun god Ra. They burned it in the morning before the sun rose to welcome the sun into the sky each morning. And it's very interesting because when you look at the history of different essential oils, usually moon god here, sun god here, moon goddess here, star goddess over here. It's always different. Frankincense, completely consistent in this massive region. Wherever it was used, wherever it was traded, it was dedicated to the sun deity. So it has a sense of the sun's power to heat and to burn up all the impurities and to sort of purify our spirits. And for the Egyptians, they thought of it as transcendent awareness, the ability to hold the big picture and see the universe and hold the detail at the same time. So it's being able to hold the big thing and the small thing in one moment.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's like very, very, very cool. And I remember going to, I used to sing in choir for church. You get 20 cents singing on a Sunday, boom, and $2 for a wedding. So like that was money when I was at school.
Oh, yeah.
They'd always walk up through and burn the frankincense. And
yeah, that actually, that practice transcends, is pre-Christian, and it dates back to Alexander the Great. He's the first person who is frankincense incense is burned in his funeral procession. And that's the first time that happens. And then it's really adopted by Christianity for their funeral processions, and because a number of priests recognized that it made people come together. And it's again that that small amount of psychedelics, where when it's burned, it actually produces something very similar to THC, and the priests believe that it brought people's minds up to God.
Wow. Yeah, like it's and like gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That's your collateral, gold, and the other two.
Yes.
I just remember, they talked about the burning bush and things like that and that was, in the Bible, but they say, that maybe that was the resin that was burning from some of those oils that come from the saps of the tree. Is frankincense one of those that where's it produced? Is that produced from the bark of a tree?
Mm-hmm. cut the bark. They put little cuts in the bark, and it oozes frankincense tears. And then usually after about 10 days, they go back and they gather them. And the very best frankincense comes from bark splitting that happens in extremely hot weather. So the hotter and more miserable it is for the humans who have to gather it, the better the quality of frankincense.
Yeah, isn't that
And
interesting?
it's produced in some in India, but not much. Most of it is in Saudi Arabia and Oman.
One of my, this is letting out a home truth. When I did my aromatherapy, but not the entire certificate, just portions of it in our diploma. And I was doing some aromatherapy and some massage and offering treatments. Like I was going to few of the local hospices and coming in and doing massage. So I'd go in during the daytime and say, listen, where would you like me to go? And they'd say, well, Mrs. So-and-so in bed 7 or Mr. such and such in bed 18. I went into saw the head nurse and said, well, I'm coming to do a massage for Mrs. Smith. And she said, well, she's feeling really unwell. She's heavily constipated. She's not well. And she's in a bit of pain. If you could do some work, she could do some massage on her. And she can't get out of bed. I thought, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to use some essential oils. She's constipated. So I'm going to try, I'll do some abdominal massage, and I'm going to use lavender because it's calming. And I'm going to use frankincense because it's about letting go. And I thought, maybe that will help. It's not really physical, but, so I massaged her and she moaned, but she seemed to enjoy it and went off at the end of, my own way. And then I came back at the end of the shift to see how she was. And I walked up to the head nurse and said, I've just come back to find out how Mrs. Smith's going. How is she? She said, oh, didn't you hear? I was like, no, she died.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, let it go. No, I didn't mean. And I'm sure it just happened to be not completely coincidental.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But who knows? And it was probably better. It was a soft going because lavender represents the noble heart. So you had the noble heart, you had the universe and the moment all together.
Yeah, not to crash out on your CV, though, I've got to say, Anne. Killed one patient.
Right. Well, there are a few that had some beautiful skin irritation because I used essential oils at too high a dosage. So there you go. Live and learn.
So what got you interested in essential oils, especially like in this research realm?
Well, one of the things that got me of course, I'm just interested in the whole range of what happens with essential oils. But my first experience with essential oils was at a country fair, and I was young and dancing around, being a hippie, and it was very fantastic. And here we are back to frankincense, dotted my forehead with some frankincense. I'd never smelled anything like it before. I kept trying to get my nose above it to smell it better. And finally, I danced over to where this woman was standing and I said, what is this? And how do I get more of it? And she was the first person that I studied aromatherapy with. And then I just went on and studied with other teachers. And I'm very much a self-taught learner. So I did a lot of just research on my own. But my first husband, Eric Brown, of course, is my best and most adorable husband. But my first husband, who was also a lovely person, was a botanist, plant taxonomist, and happened to be an expert in aromatherapy. So an international expert. So I learned a lot traveling with him and being exposed to different cultures and how they were using plants. So that was also a really important part of my education, was just sort of being on the ground with this person who knew everything about plants and questioning him and getting good answers.
Yeah, that's interesting. I meant to ask before, is there a difference if you diffuse versus burn oils? The old tea light can.
One of the things that's great about these cold diffusers is there's no heat in the process, and you don't need heat. You really just want to disperse the essential oil into the air so that you can inhale it. So I would go that way. They're very prevalent. You can also get a nebulizing diffuser, and the difference with the nebulizing diffuser is they take a pure essential oil and they burst it into very, very tiny molecules. So they're around $100. They take a lot of work to keep them clean. But if you really have like respiratory stuff that you're dealing with, or you're really trying to treat something, then that would be the way to go. But you get a great result with just an electric diffuser that you buy from an aromatherapy supply.
Yeah,
outlet.
or Aldi. When Aldi has it along with their 85-inch TVs and their
Yeah,
their air
they're
fryers.
everywhere now. The hard thing is getting really good essential oils because the market is flooded with synthetics, and those are really bad for people.
So, two questions. One, if you've got like a 3-bedroom house, how many diffusers would you need? Like,
I would put one small diffuser in each room.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you have like the carminative in the bedroom and a stimulant in the kitchen?
Yeah, you can do anything you want, and it's all good. Just keep inhaling essential oils. I do have this kind of interesting experience that I had when I wrote a 300-hour aromatherapy program for a school called Ashmead College School of Massage in Washington State. They had 5 campuses, and the program launched at the Tacoma campus in one city. It was incredibly popular. So they asked me to launch it at 2 other campuses. So I taught it at one campus in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening. I was being massively exposed to essential oils all day long, 5 days a week, 5 hours in each of the different classes. And I have never felt better in my life. That was the best I've ever felt. And I'd always struggled when I was younger in my early 20s with depression, and was on Paxil for a while and then took myself off of it because if you've ever been on it, it just makes you numb to the world. And that's a horrible way to feel. And after this experience of doing this term where I was exposed nonstop to essential oils, I never, ever experienced clinical depression again. It just shifted me. It shifted my brain, and it was effortless. And one of the things I would notice in these students who would go to school for this program, where they suddenly went from no aromatherapy to 5 days a week, 5 hours a day of aromatherapy, was their lives shifted. And they would go do this same pattern. I taught it for about 3 years in a row. So they would do this pattern, not all 3 campuses, but the program. The first 2 weeks, they were just in love with aromatherapy and everything was glorious. And then the 2 weeks after that, they were mad at the world and everything was horrible. And then at that month point, they just started changing everything. They left their husbands. They broke up with their girlfriends. They quit their job. They told their mother they were never going to speak to her again. They just shifted their lives in these really powerful ways. And for me, as my life was shifting too, I felt like there's something to this. Like, we're just more at our core. We're able to be here in this body, in this mind, and be truthful, be authentic, because it just stripped away all of the garbage.
So the first 2 weeks of euphoria, that's just that the body's kind of working at a certain level. They're going into that deeper area where they're telling, look, I know we've been happily married for 8 years, but I've actually been unhappily married for 10 months.
I've now discovered my truth, right? Yeah. I've inhaled enough frankincense where I'm just at my truth, and here it is.
But there's an internal joy, right? Not an internal depression.
I think it's an exodus of trauma in many ways. Like, okay. I think people are just sort of saying, I've held, well, you talk about letting go. Like, I've held all of this. And now I'm just doing the exhale and letting it out. And there's something about just constantly exposing yourself to essential oils that I think help you do that. Again, though, one of the things that worries me is I do these little talks, and then people go buy really crappy oils and expose themselves to really crappy oils. And then they're like, lady, I got none of these results and I actually feel horrible. And it's like, well, you've been inhaling synthetics. And there is nothing in our world that regulates essential oils the way that they need to be regulated for the aromatherapy community. So you have to be super careful. And I personally independently test my oils, which is very, very expensive. But I've now landed on some brands that I really like, and I don't use anything else.
Okay, can you give some pointers of what people should be looking for when they? My first one is always never buy any from the markets, because anything that says $5 because it ain't real.
If your Damask Rose isn't $67 for 2 milliliters, which is 40 drops, then it's not the real thing.
Yeah.
And $47 for 2 milliliters of jasmine. So. And neroli's right up there too. I haven't bought any neroli for a while, so I'm not sure with inflation where it's at right now, but probably really expensive. So you do just have to be very careful about that piece of it. But if you look at aromatherapy teachers all over the place, like a wide variety, you'll find often that they're using the same brands, and it's because they've tested them or had them tested.
We used to advise Ahisma. I don't know if they're still around, and that's an Australian, because we've got a lot of Australian botanicals here that we can use.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. So many new essential oils are coming out of Australia and out of South Anything. And it's really exciting. Yeah. So that's really cool. Yeah.
So if they're looking at the bottle, is there anything?
The problem is there are a number of companies who have figured out how to make themselves appear super authentic, and they're not. So no, I would just say, no, get a good aromatherapy teacher and find out what they're using.
Okay.
That's my advice. Or I can tell you my 4 brands and market for them, but I'll save that. And if people want to email me, I'll tell them my 4 brands.
All right. Well, I'll be asking that question as soon as we finish here, because I would like to know, are they all American brands?
Nope. French, one French brand. And I've never used any Australian brands, so I'm not familiar with your brands at all. French, an English brand, a British brand, and then one that's in Southern California and one that's in Washington State.
Okay, cool. Wow, it's midday, which means it's 8 o'clock for you.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wrap up in a minute, but can you get Eric to open the door and let your cats in? Because I would die. I'm busting to see them. I'm sure everybody else who's listening would love to see them as well.
Eric, you want to bring in Delphi?
Yeah. So before we started.
But I wondered, is there anybody who had a question that I could answer? Or
yeah, if anyone's got a question in there, like they've been making comments all the way through. But if anyone has got a question, I've got time. If you've got time.
Oh, not Indu. This isn't. Oh, Indu's scared. Oh, that was Indu. He is our cat that proves that love conquers all. He was abused for the first 7 months of his life. And then we got him, and he stayed under a cabinet for about, 8 weeks. And I would just sit in the bathroom with him and speak to him while he was under this cabinet. And eventually he came out. And then one day he flopped himself down in front of me and invited me to pet him and started to purr. And he is a real lover, but he doesn't like anything new. This is Delphi. She's our other little black cat. And she is so sweet.
She is
a tree climber. She will climb.
So we don't have this in Australia that I know of, but they walk the cats every evening. And hello, Puss.
This is Loki. He's so
That's very, very sweet. And they have a tag on so that they know where the cats are walking around and they can track them, so that you can actually walk.
GPS. They've got little air tags, so they're just the Apple AirTag that you can hook up to your phone, and you can get a little collar. Yeah. Anyway,
well, they're getting rid of the air tags apparently because people have been ex-partners have been dropping them into their
stalking them. We stalk our cats with them, so I can imagine that it works. It's horrifying. It really is.
Look, and we haven't had anyone that's made any comments under here, but look, I would love to have you back again to talk about anything that you've got, because you've got this wealth of knowledge.
I'm like shaking my head, yes, but that's more from just exhaustion and silliness than anything. Yes. Oh, wealth of knowledge, wealth.
So, and also resources, anything that you would advise that people come in and tick on.
Yeah. If everybody wants to check out our website, we're massagemastery.online, and the coupon code is Aroma50 for any of our 3 aromatherapy courses, and we'll give you 50% off. And I do one called the Aromatic Mind, which is all about the psychological effects. One called Soul Sense, which is all about the spiritual, cultural history of different essential oils. And then one's called Aromatherapy Foundations. It's long, it's 8 hours, and it's lots of science and that foundation that you need to sort of take your aromatherapy practice to the next level. People tell me it's a little academic, so a little warning, but I put lots of pretty pictures in there.
and if people here, most of the people that are here are listening who are manual therapists, so they're probably going to be the ones that are jumping into that space, so they know how many drops of what to use in the diffuser or how much to use in the clinic for what kind of treatment. So that, like, still 8 hours is not a lot. And you get continuing professional education points with those, don't you?
I don't know what your system is in Australia. I don't. So you would know better than I if they could use them, but they're NCB-TMB approved, if that matters.
Yeah. No, for us, and this is global, so most of the associations will allow you to have up to between 5 and 15 points per year on online learning of anything that fits in.
Nice.
So that you've got that's an 8 hour, and the other 2 are about how long?
They're both just 1 hour introductions.
Yeah, perfect.
To hook you in.
Yeah. I'm hooked. Or back to hooked again. So I just wish I could have used an oil to calm the mood of the house last night, because we had the first of the 3 Bledisloe Cup games, which was rugby union Australia versus New Zealand. And I had 3 men in the other room yelling and screaming at the TV set for 18 minutes.
I don't think there's any essential oil that's going to solve that problem, but you can try. Well, it's always so delightful to chat with you. You're so fun and full of effervescent energy, and it's just a joy. So thank you, Paula, for having me.
Unreal. And everybody, if you've got any questions, toss them down into the stream, and I'll pass them on to Anne. And we'll be putting this up on my YMS page, and then dropping it finally into the Massage Mentory Mastership portal for those people who want to help accelerate their clinical practice and get to that next level. And I'll also be going over to Anne and Eric's websites as well, so you'll be able to get any more information from them. But Anne, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all next month for, I'm trying to think who I've got next month. I'll let you know when I remember. See you.
Basil, rosemary.
That's what I need, right? And the rest of my coffee. All right. See you, everybody. Take care. See you in October.